Nearly a year ago when I started this channel, the first video that I ever made was on Apex Legends Mobile. In fact, that was a little research project of my own, and that was quite some time ago, so I wanted to go back and take a look at just the newest information about Apex Mobile that we had. Now, this video was in part inspired by a Tech Radar article that I read the other day, so I'll put a link to that down in the description. However, I went off on my own. I'm using a little bit of the research that I did for my very first video, as well as the information from that article and information that I learned from the EA press conference call from earlier this year to kind of paint a pretty clear picture, I guess, of what Apex Mobile will be and when we can expect it, because they announced all different kinds of changes coming to Apex, like it being on Steam and being on Switch and getting crossplay during the EA Play event, but there was no mention of Apex Mobile, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I figured, let me go off on my own, let me do some research, and let me see what there is to learn about it. So back in really late 2019, and forgive me, I think towards the beginning of this video I'd actually said that EA conference call was in 2020, but it was actually in late 2019. And in that conference call, they talked a lot about Apex Legends. They talked about the 10-year plan that they had for it, the outpouring of more funds into Respawn and Respawn Vancouver, but they also said that they had a dream to put Apex Legends on mobile. And this was a fairly big thing when they first announced this, which is really why my first video was on that, because I felt like there was a lot of misinformation being spread around and I wanted to more accurately portray it, I guess. So the reason that they want Apex Mobile is because countries like China and India have literal billions of people who have cell phones and not a huge population of people who have PCs or consoles. This is in part, at least in China, due to the fact that up until just a couple years ago, consoles were actually fully outlawed in the country, and they haven't really made any kind of full appearance in China yet, so it's a lot of mobile gamers in those two countries. And as I mentioned, the two of those countries combined have about 2.5 billion people, which, to put that into perspective, is almost a third of the population of the Earth. In those two countries already, they have a humongous market for PUBG Mobile. In fact, PUBG Mobile was probably the inspiration for them making Apex Legends Mobile. Obviously, Fortnite has a mobile version of their game, but I feel in India and China, PUBG Mobile is a far bigger video game, and I think Apex Legends can actually compete with that, since at this point Apex has a little bit larger of a market in those areas than Fortnite does. At least that's what I found in like my research on my own. So if you're from either China or India and you have any insight into that, please let me know down in the comments. I'm actually really interested in hearing from you about whether or not you or your friends or just the people around you, like maybe at your school or your place of business, do they play PUBG Mobile, and do you think that they would be interested in playing Apex Legends Mobile? I think it's pretty clear why EA and obviously Respawn want this market opened up to them, because they could potentially have upwards of 2.5 billion people just in those two countries alone buying Apex packs and getting like coins and everything, obviously. So that is a humongous market to open up, with millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars that could become accessible that really aren't right now. So let's get into the details. So back to what we were talking about before about that EA conference call. The EA chief executive had actually stated in that conference call that their target goal for releasing Apex Legends Mobile was going to be the beginning of the 2021 fiscal year, which, if you don't know, the fiscal year starts in October, which is a little bit confusing. I'm obviously not a finance channel, but if you're more interested in that, I'm sure if you just Google it, you can find some pretty good information. So what does that mean? At least to me, that says that maybe if they're still sticking to this timeline, Now, I'm a little concerned that they won't be sticking to this timeline just because there was nothing mentioned about it in EA Play. Potentially with the start of Season 6 or Season 7, maybe we'll get an announcement about Apex Mobile, and then we might be able to get a more detailed look at when it will officially be dropping. Now, I personally think that we probably will get this sometime in December. We already got to see last December that the team over at Respawn really put together some huge stuff for that December into January period, with tons of limited time modes, crazy skins, all that kind of stuff. So maybe we'll get to see something like that again with the launch of Apex Mobile, which will kind of stimulate interest in the game because it'll be right around that event and skins and heirloom and potentially new map ? I have a video on that from a while back if you want to go check that out. Maybe season 6, definitely season 7 if not, but that's not what we're focusing on in this video. Now, something that I want to touch on is crossplay for mobile devices. Now, somehow Fortnite has kind of gotten this to work. Now, obviously, I don't play Fortnite mobile, and I haven't played regular Fortnite either ever, so I don't have firsthand experience with how this works or not. However, I've seen quite a few videos of people playing Apex Mobile, and they're actually doing pretty okay. So hopefully Apex Legends can kind of take a page out of their book and they can find some way to make it work. Obviously, the way that crossplay works is if you don't have somebody in your party who's on a specific device, then you won't play against people who are on that device. So for example, if you have a 3 stack of PC players, you won't be playing with anyone on Switch, PS4, Xbox One, or mobile. However, for the first little while, I really don't think we're going to be getting Apex Mobile for crossplay. Maybe once they kind of figure out how to make that work, potentially we could see it, but I personally don't really think so. Now, a really big target of discussion for PUBG Mobile is that there's a huge conspiracy that they use bots in their game. Now, I personally don't really see a reason for that. It seems to me like there are quite a few PUBG Mobile players. Maybe not as much in North America where I am, because people here, if you're a quote-unquote mobile gamer, potentially you are playing just Fortnite or Call of Duty Mobile. Now, I don't think anybody really plays games seriously other than that. I'm pretty out of touch with my mobile gaming, though, so if there are pretty serious gaming fandoms on mobile that I'm not aware of, please let me know down in the comments. I'm fully ready for the barrage of satirical Raid Shadow Legends people down there. Also, Raid, if you're listening, I will run a 30-second ad in my video for $1,000, so slide into my DMs if you're interested. But going back to the main topic of discussion, I don't really think Apex will need bots. However, if they do decide on an offline mode, I think that would be pretty cool. That way they could potentially market to other people who could buy when they are online. I don't know, I just think an offline mode would be cool. So that's really going to be it for this video. I just wanted to keep you guys up to date on why Apex Mobile is going to exist, when you can expect to see it. Obviously, sometime around October, November, December, somewhere in that first fiscal year, at least according to EA's chief executive. Now, if there's any more news on this that comes out, obviously I will be immediately reporting on that. And in order to make sure that you stay up to date with all of this news, commentary, gameplay, fun stuff, crazy stuff, informative stuff, make sure you hit that bell down below this video. And while you're there, make sure you lightly tap the like button, okay? I don't want it to get hurt again. I know I really stress the point about smacking it a lot, but the like button does need a little bit of love here and there. That way, you know, it doesn't think we hate it or anything. So that's going to be it for me for this video, guys. I really appreciate you sticking around to the end. Thank you so much. I'll be back with you guys again tomorrow. But until then, take it easy.